Hello and welcome to the Journey of Possibility podcast with me, Jill Tiny, and Erkan Ali, founders of Be Collaboration. We just found it was there, live there. Welcome today to our guest, Becky Mayrose, one of our, I was going to say new members, but you're not a new member now, are you?
Not anymore.
18 months, something like
Just
that.
over a year, July 26th.
That's right. So, welcome, and we look forward to exploring Journey of Possibility with you today. Okay, so lovely to have you with us today. It's a September day, there's lots going on, we're starting our new term. Becky was just saying earlier how she likes the whole feeling of being fresh and new. And it's like school time, isn't it, when you get your new exercise book and you get a chance to write on a fresh, clean page, which is what I've got here. So anytime you say anything amazing, I'm going to be writing loads down here.
No pressure.
It's blank. So, first and foremost, you're a wonderful member of the Essex group. Tell us what your impressions are of Essex and what made you join over
So Essex came about really randomly. I had a blank day, which is quite rare, and Erkan had been on my Facebook for about 2 and a bit years from back when Beju did Wannabe.
So were you
Very first
stalking
one,
her all the
No,
time?
I
That's
don't-
very
I
annoying,
don't-
2.5 years.
I don't think so. I do stalk a lot of people, but
I don't even think Erkan knew that I was there. I was just
Probably
there watching a few
Yeah.
things. And Erkan shares a lot of things that a lot of people I know wouldn't dream of talking about. But I kind of think similar stuff and believe in similar stuff. So I was like, oh, that falls on that day. No, I'm a bit free. I think it was literally the same day. So I was like, oh, I'll go along. Had no idea what it was. None.
Excellent.
So I was a bit like, oh, 4 hours is a little bit of time, but no, it's okay. I've got a blank day for a reason. This happened for a reason. Go along. And I can still remember who the newbies were that day. And then we went down to the pub afterwards, and it was. I think it was actually funny enough. Beju's Know and Be Known, which was quite nice.
Ah, right.
Because then I got to see him in a totally different light.
Yes, yeah.
And I just remember being really blown away, particularly by the butterfly section. That was really, really massive for me. And at that point, I was like, yeah, this is me.
Yeah.
This is exactly it. This is the way that I like to be. And as much as I love a lot of my friends dearly, some of the conversations I like to have, they're like, oh, Becky, be quiet.
Yeah.
do you know that
Funny,
feeling?
isn't it? Yeah, I do, yeah. It's
Do
weird.
you know that feeling?
Yeah.
But just to rather than skirt over the subjects, I do share a quite wide variety.
Yep.
But I did notice you were kind of liking certain things, saying comments, and I think I started to notice because I didn't know you.
No.
Did we meet at Wannabe, or maybe it was
No, Wannabe, I was just a random face in the crowd again. I mean, I didn't know what that was.
Yeah.
I was doing a business degree and I had to do an entrepreneurship element, so I heard about Wannabe, so I went along.
Okay.
I mean, don't get me wrong, I asked quite a lot of questions, I got quite involved. But that day I remember being very blown away by the powers, because I quoted the powers in my business stuff and I was like, oh, that's the them. Yeah, I really was absolutely taken away by them. But I didn't really know who anyone else on the stage was.
Yeah.
Right.
But I did get quite taken up in all that, and it put me onto a journey of personal development, Wannabe did. And I went down quite a different route. But I was always quite... It used to get called conspiracy theorists, didn't it? I know that's what my grandparents have always called it. My mum's very school teacher, so believes in the system, how the system should be, and I'm so not.
That's interesting.
A delight for your mother, obviously. Sorry, just getting straight into it. But it is though, isn't it? Because the school teacher, or it's like the politician or the bank manager, they're all very much part of.
She's Church of England through and through, school teacher through and
You
through.
can't pull the rug from under her because it's what she's her life, isn't
we
it?
just have to agree to disagree. She says God bless you, and I'm like, thank you.
That's nice.
See, that's the enlightenment. That is.
I'll always take a blessing. Me, yeah.
It's just, you have to live and let live.
Yeah.
I don't agree with the way she believes. I think I've eventually taught her to respect the way I believe differently.
Yeah.
So
going back to that whole conspiracy theory thing, it's and in my experience when people brought it up, it's kind of undermining you and being kind of patronising or arrogant about these subject matters or perspectives that are outside the mainstream thinking. So you're quite often, like you said, like it's nice to be around people I can have these conversations with.
Yeah, definitely.
Because actually, if you've done some research, it's not like you have to all agree on them, but there's plenty off-piste kind of perspectives to what's going on in the world.
I used to drive my economics and finance teacher absolutely mad, because obviously I passed my degree because I knew that to pass the degree you have to do it the way they want to hear it. But that's not what I think, and it's not what I believe, because I used to sit there in economics and go, but our whole financial system is the biggest con going, because they're actually selling things that don't exist. And he was like, well, but I was like, but no, that's the fact. It's actually that simple. And because it really actually is. And they like to make it more complicated. So then there's the futures market, and then there's the stocks and grains market, but the stocks and grains haven't been created yet, and then they're planning on the future of that. So in effect, you're all betting on something that doesn't exist. And I'm quite almost see straight through it all to that quite easily.
Do you have a recording of an awakening, or do you feel like you've always felt like you've been awake to these things?
No, I certainly haven't. I certainly grew up very religious. I went to church school. I was one of the youngest to be confirmed in the Church of England, because I've always been very, if I decide I want something, I will make it happen, and hell have any fire anyone gets in my way, I will do it. And it was even the same back then. But then I started to learn, and I think when you learn about all the different religions, all the different ways around the world, and then I started to travel. And I went to Kenya when I was 18, and it changed me. It's something I've always said with my children, I want to take them, almost the younger the better, because when we sometimes think that we're poor in this country, we're not. We have got no idea, and I say that as someone I was homeless when I was 21, so I really do know as close as that can be, really. But even then, we're still not as poor as other countries, and that disparity bothers me. We are all human beings, and I don't like that. I don't want that for my children's future. It's nice to have and want nice things, and we're all entitled to that, but not to the point where someone else has to go without for us to have that, because there's no need.
So would you say you start to, one, observe the world and then start asking your own questions, and maybe the answers you were being given didn't satisfy or didn't kind of explain what you were seeing?
Yeah, I'm not one to just believe what I'm doing.
No, exactly, no, that fix too complicated. It's like that kind of innate, I would call that like your innate wisdom or your innate curiosity kind of.
I think we did wonder, didn't we, at the London BCOL the other month, and I think wonder is it, but it's a bit more than that for me. One of my friends says I should have been a detective, because I kind of notice everything. I'll sit in a room and we might be having a conversation at a table and I'll be fully involved, but any breaks I will be noticing everything that's going on around the room, and I can't almost help it.
Do you think it's like kind of heightened OCD or heightened perception?
No, I don't think so. I think what it is the time that we're living in. 50 years ago, we might have thought there was a conspiracy here, but how do you go and find out about it? You go to the library. I mean, but now you just Google stuff. You've got access to so much more than we've ever had before, and it leads you down rabbit warrens, and it leads you to all sorts of places. And then when you've got an insatiable sense of, I want to learn, I need to know, this world is wrong, there's wars in the world, you don't go, God, why is there a war in the world? You go searching and go, why is there, you know? And you've got the access to be able to do it. So I think most people now are curious and want to learn, but some of them go, I don't know that much, but I don't want to know behind the curtain, because I'm a bit nervous about how far it goes.
Because once you know, you can't take that away.
Exactly.
No, you can't. There is a point. There's a tipping point almost.
Well, it's interesting because I had a friend of mine quite a few years back. Not quite a few. A couple of years ago, we were trying to watch films at his house, and he put on the first one. No, I'm not watching that. Because when you watch us, it's basically propaganda. They put another film on, and we basically didn't end up watching a film, because everything he was trying to, I think it was Virgin or one of these Netflix things.
He's trying to ruin Disney for me at the moment.
No, that has to stay where it is. I get it, and I really do get it, and the racist side of it, I get it. But no, that needs to stay as that place of.
I can ruin Disney for you.
No, please. No.
Anyway,
I've been told too much, and I don't like have.
So he says to me, he says, I can't watch films now, you've ruined them for me. I said, no, films are not a problem. I think films, entertainment, cartoons, animation, as a creative expression is fantastic. It's the content inside it. And I think also people are looking at things now, and I think going back to what you said about information, the internet, you know, we started to read and engage with information that wasn't just given to us by our school, then by our newspapers, and then by our TV. We're going and exploring. And I guess going back to the original question, obviously you're seeing some things that I was posting, but in my mind, how did that stick out for you as different to all the things that you were to turn up at a BCon meeting off the back of that? Because there ain't many people doing that, I don't think, not in that way.
No, it's true.
So I went and investigated, and there's a lot of information out there, as you'll know, as someone who goes and does that. The word you used earlier was digger. And I'm like that too. In fact, I almost sometimes don't want to know about certain subjects, so I don't want to know about cars and plumbing and electrics, because if I found out, then I would want to know everything, and I just don't want to know.
Life's too short.
A need to know basis. You don't need to know. Yeah.
So because of that, but then that was stuff I'd gone to find, and then I'd found like a kind of, I suppose, online spiritual community, but they're all very down to earth. So I had that as online, but there was nothing physical, and I still like to be around people.
Yeah,
Online's wonderful, but there's something about seeing the whites of people's eyes, and you sense people better in a room. As good as online is, and I love my online communities, and they're wonderful, and they are friends, even though some of them are across the world and I've never met them. But it isn't the same as being in a room with people. And so BCol, it came away from that, because actually BCol doesn't go into all of that to a massive degree.
No.
It's there, but it certainly isn't the total focus. For me, it's become my dose of personal development every month. And the thing I've started to say more, because I did a bit of a Facebook Live about collaboration the other day. B collaboration for me is my bit of personal development a month, and the busier my months are, the more groups I need to go to.
Yeah, I like that.
Because it's where I can park all of that
Yeah.
and just be. And if at times I want to sit there and say next to nothing, then that's okay.
And you have to have a space where you can be fed, can't you? And the people in there are going to, whoever's at the front of the room is going to be feeding you. I remember one time you went, I can't remember what month it was, how long ago, but you were sat there kind of like, and you said, I didn't want to come, I wasn't going to come, I was too tired to come, but I'm so glad I came. Because you were feeling like that, you were absolutely exhausted. And then everyone's like, oh, let's give you a hug. You know, it's like, let's physically give you that energy back. And you walked out on cloud nine, you were fine at the end. Yeah.
Exactly, and that's important, because it is all, for me, it's all an exchange of energy. Everything we do is. And especially when you're quite a giving person, you can give to the point where you've got nothing left. And you need to find them groups of people who, it can be an exchange, and sometimes you'll be one of the people who's giving, and other times you'll be one of the people who's needing that support, and that's all okay, whichever way that is.
It's fluid, isn't it? It's dynamic.
Yeah,
because you can sit at the back of the room and say nothing throughout the whole meeting, it's fine. I was, well, kind of.
I think everyone falls their chair
What's happened to this?
Maybe you've done what you've done with her. Where has she gone? Yeah.
But there are people who are quite quiet in the meetings. You wouldn't, you know, and within the breaks there's a chance to engage. So what are you drawing away from it then? So obviously you've got, can we mention Love Summit now? Might as well.
Oh yeah.
So you know your projects. For me, my experience of you is like you're going from leaps and bounds, and you're taking on, you know, you're up in your ante, you're up in your game, and you know how over the last year, for example, how's that kind of been evolving?
So obviously my main role is I'm a matchmaker, so everything I do is revolved around love in a relationship sense. But actually, it did come out at Be Inspired with you in November. It was that I did Be Inspired. About mid-November. That it got to the core genius, and one was quite easy to get to, really. It was quite freeing to then saying that I'm universal love. My view on that is everybody is universal love, actually. I don't think that's unique to me. I think everybody is that. But the Love Summit had been bobbling about in my head for years. And then, I'll be really frank, I reached a point where everything had gone kapoof. I had a house.
Translation of
kapoof? House fall through.
Oh.
Like everything, really bad.
Kaput, you mean more than kapoof? It sounds like just magic.
Like the total opposite. It was more like everything loaded.
Oh wow.
So I was almost financially, I was broken for the first time since I was very young. Everything. And there's something then that actually gives you them freedom.
Like a renewal in it.
Yeah.
Oh, I've been there, yeah.
So I've had it where I've got lots of money in the bank that you can invest into a business, and then you're a bit blasé with what you invest your money and time into because you've got money in the bank. And so when you do it when you've got nothing. And literally, me and my girls rent a room in someone else's house, so we've gone all in on this. But it gave me the driving force that was so much bigger than me to turn around and say, help, I've got this idea, I need it to work. I talk about this quite a lot. I stood up on the 4th of May, it was, in BCOL Essex, and said that. And BCOL first went like that. And then I went round and I did it with more networks, and more people came on board with it. And each time more people came on board, I was like, oh, this is actually something. And then in space in the last month or two, I've been like, oh, actually, this is really, really something. This is massive. This is huge. And my phrase is that it's become more than just one crazy woman with an idea. It's just become something so much bigger. And it's got the potential to be bigger again, because if each person who attends or exhibits or speaks has a positive experience, what's that then going to take them onto the day after? What influence is that then going to have on the people that they then spend time with? And that's just incredible.
Just tell us, what's the format of the Love Summit? So it's a one-day event?
Yes, so Sunday the 24th of September at Chelmsford City Racecourse. Very much picked, because I got some advice to say go and get some like top hitting speakers in because they'll join the crowds, and I was like, no, I'm not doing that, it's not what I want. I want people who will give from the stage, not sell from the stage, who have genuinely got something incredible. So almost everyone on that stage has touched my life in some way, shape or form. So obviously you guys were the first to say yes, which was absolutely incredible.
Delighted.
We've got Irene Brankin, she was my psychotherapist for 18 months. So talk about sharing the person who's like help you dig out all of your skeletons out of the closet and stuff. But she's an incredible woman. All the way down to like Charlotte's young, vibrant yoga teacher. So the spectrum is really wide, and I don't profess to think that everyone who walks through that door is going to love every single speaker, because that would be odd. It would be odd. But my hope is that each person who walks through and goes to the workshop side part of the day will at least connect with one or two. So there's 8 of us, and we're all very different. I mean, even when it comes down to you two, you guys speaking together, you're both very different. And I like that, because as human beings we're all different. So it gives people that breadth to draw from.
Well, part of our preparation was talking about our preparation for the event, because we're designing something specifically for your event. We're not just rolling out the usual.
Well, to be fair, we've never spoken on stage at the same time. We've done it one after the other. It's like wheel on Jill, then wheel on Lurkan, and
or we speak very separately as well, don't we? And for us to speak together, I mean, we do speak together on the podcast, obviously, but this we've designed something specifically, and I think this idea of love. I think what's the title of our talk?
Love in Business.
Love in Business, right? And is that the theme across the thing, or is that just our talk?
So there's 3 themes across the day. So when people book on today, they get asked, what are you most interested in? More love of self, because obviously until you've got that, and that can be the hardest one to get. Because to love yourself truly, you need to not just love the bits of you which are lovable, you need to love the bits of you which are downright awful, and every single person's got some of that. And it's
hasn't he's perfect. Has he not told you that?
I was going to say that. Yeah, anyone who knows who's watching this going, what?
Sorry.
Because there's always going to be the people. But we've all got that, but not everyone. That self-love to people who've always loved themselves. So my gran, from the day she was born, I'm sure she's loved herself. She like walks into a room, she expects everyone to love her too, and that's cool. And she rocks for that. In fact, my youngest daughter's got that as well. But lots of people haven't, and you need to learn that, and it's a really key skill, and it then changes everything. And then the next one is more loving relationships 360, so that's everything from parent-child down to being able to actually have that connection with the person you buy your paper from on a Sunday. Being able to actually converse with these people rather than feeling that they're separate to us. Because that changes the world. And then heart-centred business, I call it, which is just business from that core, not from this fluffy woo-woo space, but from a space where people matter more than money. But yes, your business still makes money as well.
Yeah.
Because that's absolutely okay. And it's trying to find that middle ground. So yeah, heart-centered business is definitely the section that you guys are covering quite strongly. So Matthew Collins will be covering that quite strongly. He's part of the design team, and he just got the Love Summit. All of the artwork is his, and
Beautiful,
it's
isn't it?
incredible.
Yeah.
And I mean, he gets it. The way he has the core of the logo, because everything comes back to the centre and it flows out, and it's just, when he showed that to me, I cried.
Yeah.
It was just, you've taken my vision and created a vision out of it, which is incredible. Absolutely amazing. So yeah, there's all the way through. So obviously Irene and then Sandra are more focusing on more love of self, and helping people with that. And yeah, it's across the board. So each person who attends says, and they're going to get like a colour coding, so that anyone who speaks to them knows that that's the thing they're most looking for help with. It could well change on the day. I don't doubt that there's going to be people walking there thinking they need to love themselves more.
I'll
Realise
have all 3 dots on you.
yeah, actually, I'm really bad at this. But I'd never thought of having a heart-centered business. You know, I can see that's going to happen throughout the day as well.
And you know, it's quite interesting just listening to you talk about, because I mean, when Jill and I first started talking about big collaboration, and we were kind of giving birth to this concept, and a lot of people go, you know, or we get, not a lot of people, but we get responses like, oh, this is all very fuzzy, it's all lovey-dovey, you know, and people had a view that this was something like business networking, as opposed to, no, we're doing something a bit more grand than that. You know, this isn't just about going and turning up and swapping cards and, you know, doing that transactional stuff. It's actually building a community that's taking care of itself and nurturing each other, and that empathy and connection, you know, is something that I think is becoming easier for people to hear than they, I mean, even just 4 years ago.
It was funny because it was only a couple of months ago that somebody came to the Hartford meeting, and you'd have loved that, because we said to all the guests, you know, what did you think of the meeting? And one guy was just like, no words. He was just stunned, and he was like, okay. So we said to the other guy, what do you think? He went, well, you're just a bunch of people that love each other, really, aren't you? That's kind of what we were like, yes, you get it, you get it.
Yeah, that's it.
Is it? Bottom line, isn't it?
Was it a room full of people who love each other?
Yeah.
And it was like, and this guy wasn't like the most, you know...
he didn't want to stand up front of the
he
room at
didn't
all.
want to. He didn't want to be in front of
be,
but it just kind of summed it up, and it kind of just really just went, yeah, well, now we've got something we can work with. You know, if there's that love, affinity, connection, respect for each other, now, okay, oh, you happen to be a lawyer, oh, you happen to be an accountant, you happen to be a web designer, whatever the hell it is you do, then we can get into all of that, as opposed to, I'm a lawyer, here's my card. And you go, well, I don't even know who you are you first, before we get into all that.
Yes.
When you drill down everything, it's got to be down to love, isn't it?
It has. But then love isn't always the fluffy stuff. Love is also the being there for people when they don't want to turn up, because actually life's throwing them to one too many curveballs, and actually sometimes saying yes, we can support you, and also having the guts sometimes to say to people, well, how much of this are you bringing on yourself? And that,
or tough love.
Yeah, because that is it. That's real love. Real love isn't all beautiful. I think the yin and yang symbol shows all that beautifully. There's the darkness, because without it you wouldn't appreciate the light, and that's the same of all of us, the world, and certainly of love, I think. So, and I think Be Cold does do that, because I think there is that element of, if we weren't to show up truly giving, or even if it's not giving in that right place, so I suppose if you weren't to leave your stuff at the door and you brought it in too much, we would all care enough to go, right, hold on a minute.
Yeah. So, and I know if you've seen that, but it's happened at Essex when different people have gone, actually, did you really mean that? And, you know, we kind of challenge each other, but from a space of love, so that you know it's done with all the best intention. So the hearing for it is different, rather than like, what do you think you're talking about? It's like, oh, okay, that's what you think, so let me go away and think about that, that's interesting. And you can deal with it and take it on board. Yeah,
which is then, that's the point where everyone can grow, isn't it? Because if you don't know, you don't know.
I mean, I've had people who came to Be Cool quite recently. They said, I can't believe the level of conversations and how open people are about their lives. And I said, well, when you open yourself up that much, you're free of it. If you don't want to talk about what's going on in your life, and you go, oh, hush, hush, secret, don't tell anybody, you're kind of bound by it in a way that actually go, you know what, I've got this challenge. Someone go, yeah, no, I had that last year.
Yeah.
It's like you just said, Mark, wasn't it my life went poof? No, it was it was like, and most people don't want to say that. They want to say those things,
No,
but they are.
how are you? I'm fine.
Yeah,
It's got to be
great.
like that all the time.
Yeah,
How
great.
inauthentic is that?
So on a level, you say your relationship, professionally,
I'm a matchmaker.
that's how you would put it, yeah?
Yeah, I know I am a match. I'm the Essex's only certified matchmaker.
I'm not only a manager, but I've got a certificate.
Yeah.
Okay, so what makes you so what makes you someone that can be an author, not an author, I don't know the word authority, but a specialist in that area? What is it that you said, yeah, how would you articulate how you can put two people together?
Okay, so the classic question I get asked is, why did you become a matchmaker? And I usually say, because I had the divorce that kept on exploding. It was like a car crash that wouldn't stop ending. And I would really like to hope that I can help people not go through that, because it hasn't just been hard for me, it has been hard for my ex. It's been horrendous for our children. That then ripples out into all of our friends, because obviously we were married, we had joint friends.
It's impact, doesn't it?
It does. It's impacted both our families, and that's ludicrous. All because two people chose to get together, who, when you boil it down, were both quite decent people, who wanted similar stuff out of life, but weren't right for each other. Actually, anyone with half a brain who stood back from us two could have seen we were not right for each other. Really early
But
on.
nobody told you.
Is that the
I don't
case
know,
for
his mum
most-
did tell me. His mum
Okay. Interesting.
She put it in writing. You go, look.
she did tell me, and I wanted to prove her wrong.
Oh,
I don't ever
there you
like being
go.
told I'm wrong. I'm getting better with that one now.
That's a good lesson to parents, not to get involved into their children's
No,
love
never.
life, because you never know what's going to
Should
happen.
never be a parent. Never, ever, ever be a parent. So basically, then I dated, and then I had, I think it was 5 years of horrendous dates. Oh, my soul, some are horrendous.
I've got a book about it.
I should have.
Oh, brilliant.
I'd have to change the name so I
Protect the innocent.
and yeah, and then I was following the guy who's now become my mentor, Paul Kedrick Brunson from America. And I just openly said on his Facebook page, when are you coming to the UK? We need you. And I was due to run a weekend course on mindset, body and money. And I cancelled it to go because he was in London for a half-day course, and I did it. And I was so focused on my business, I knew exactly where I was going, what my head office was going to look like, who my staff was going to be, everything. And I sat there and I went, no, I need to do what you do. And it was like that.
The whole thing just.
Whoa.
Boom. Yeah, and it took a long time, because I don't think you can set up as something like a matchmaker just off the cuff.
Why do you feel you have such an interest or an attraction to putting people together?
Well, I like it even business-wise. If I know two people who should work together, could work together, I will always
I'm not-
Oh, you and Jill's really good at that.
just love it. And then when you see that they
Gives you
often
buzz,
do
doesn't
something,
it?
it
It's
is
lovely feeling.
incredible. But we live in quite a nice world, because we've created a nice world for ourselves with Beco and stuff, but not everyone does. And actually, when you boil it down, most children now come from separated homes. And I'm not saying that single parents can't do a good job, because I've been a single parent for nearly 8 years and I think I do a good job. And I think there's a lot of single parents who do a brilliant job. But if we could have more couples that stay together, then we'd have more happy families, which means we'd have happier communities, and it goes out from there.
So that's a really knock-on impact that you're looking for.
Yeah, massive, yeah. And I just think as well, if we could help children understand relationships, because we're not taught this stuff at school.
No.
And it's fundamental, because relationships aren't just romantic. I focus on romantic, but relationship skills go out so much wider. Being able to deal when someone says something that maybe you don't like, being able to have that conversation rather than burying it. My family used to be terrible for burying stuff. Like, oh, just don't mention it, sweep it under the carpet. And all that happens there is it festers. And then one day, everyone's grown up. My mum was the first time I was allowed to have an alcoholic drink. The things I said to my family. Because it was like a PowerPoint, and I just went, la, 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 la. And it's about having those conversations at the time.
Yeah.
That something happens, and being able to help each other have that. And that's...
So what you're saying is, rather than hoarding it under the carpet, you're reconciling things as you go.
Yeah. But that's a
But people
relationship
don't have
skill.
those skills. And that's not just romantic skills, is it? That's, sorry, romantic relationships. That's any business, pleasure, any kind of relation. We've got things to talk about. But it's the relationship skills, the communication skills.
Yes.
And then and within the romantic part, partnering up areas where you find your
That's harder again, because you can hold a decent relationship with these people unless there's a total point where you know you need to take distance, and that's fine, and that is okay. Not everyone is going to get on with everyone. Romantic relationships are a whole other thing again.
But aren't all kind of long-term one-on-one relationships dysfunctional to an extent because you're around somebody a lot of, you know what I mean, because you see someone once every couple of weeks, it's like all on good behaviour. It's like meeting people on holiday. Aren't they great? Yeah. Fantastic. Oh, I met that lovely couple. But if you're with them every day, you probably hate them at some...
But that's not dysfunction, that's normal.
Oh, right,
I'd do anything for my gran, but there are times when I look at her and I think, this playing off word, but my head's going to fly off my shoulders and spin around and explode. That's not dysfunctional, that's normal.
No,
and I
I think that's...
accepting that, this almost Disney-like fairy tale that we're told,
I told you it's an evil.
It's just not true. This white picket fence where a family gets, a couple get together, it's happily
it's
ever after.
creating a real illusion, an unattainable, unrealistic.
But it's the other way around, going back to family relationships. How many people do you hear of their sons or their daughters who are teenagers who've thrown a strop and there's a problem in the relationship and they go, oh well, it's teenagers, what can you do?
No,
they're people.
But
it gets me. I mean, I've heard it so many times. Oh, they're boys. Boys will be like that. No, they won't. No. Just talk.
That's just
to them.
unchecked behaviour more than anything.
Exactly. Yes. But then they think that's okay because they've heard it from other people and it's what to expect. And when boys become 13, they turn into Kevin and all these kind of things. So it's like they've got an excuse. It's not my fault. Although it's my son or my daughter, it's not my fault because that's what everyone experiences, so that's what they have to go through to come out the other side. They have to rebel so that they can come out the other side. Well, I don't know, your kids aren't rebelling yet, but my kids never rebelled. 2 years old.
That in the bud, Jill.
2 years old, they would all, temper tantrums, which was great. But after that, as soon as we could communicate.
But what I mean, like, if you think about it, if you're a communication specialist, we've got certain advantages, we've got certain skills that, I can't fix cars. I don't do any plumbing. So what I'm getting at is we do have certain skills, and within our household, if my daughters are having an issue with each other, we have a way of, in the family, dealing with those things, and they get dealt with there and then. Yeah. And I suspect I'm not going to wait until my kids are teenagers to start, and this idea of authority over them is they are responsible for themselves. You're responsible. You do something, behave a certain way, like, Tyler will come up and go, so I just punched me in the face. Well, you probably did something to deserve it. I said why she punched you in the face. She'll go, oh, so I've talked to you about it. She'll go off. Yeah. They don't do that very but the thing is they're learning to manage their relationships rather than come to, rather than give away that responsibility, that they've created something within their, and with us and with each other and outside of that.
But the point is, if it's like that in a family and they all have a shared history of, so the 2 kids were brought up or 3 kids were brought up by the same parents and they've got that shared history, you get 2 strangers coming together with a separate history that they don't know about. Oh, exactly. How's that going to work? So
which is where relationship skills, I really want them. One of my big bold ideas, I want them put on the national curriculum by 2020 because actually it would fix so much. Even then going down to the level of what is okay and not okay, because some things are okay, some things are it's not perfect, but it's still okay, and some things are very not okay, and learning what are those things would then help people go, no, that's actually really not appropriate. And children would learn so much faster rather than ending up in this negative cycle of the naughty kids in school. You already see it, almost given some sort of dispensation to behave that way. And then the other children see some disparity, and then you see the really good kids going, but the naughty kids always get praised for the minute they're good. And it's creating this complete misbalance of relationships, because it shouldn't be they kick up the most, therefore they get praised when they're good, but yet here's me being like the best I can possibly be all the time and it gets forgotten. Teaching these relationship skills and this accountability for our own actions is important, because we're all accountable. Even I've got friends with children with learning disabilities, they still hold their children accountable because it doesn't give an excuse. There are times where they cannot control, and that's part of their illness. There are other times where they're just kind of pushing it, and they're held accountable. Yeah,
and they will do, because that's the nature of the beast, isn't it? That's what they should be pushing things every so often to find out what's acceptable and what's not acceptable. What worries me for children nowadays is social media, and you know, and any form of technology that takes away the ability to be face to face. Like you say, you prefer big collaboration because it's sort of pressing the flesh. But kids are they're like this all the time, and the upset and the bullying and all the rest of it. And I'm like, how can you? In my head, I'm thinking, how can you be bullied by something in there? Put it away, but they can't, can they?
They can't.
And so I know that it's a huge, powerful hold over them that we didn't have to deal with when we were kids.
No.
It was, and it's frightening now.
I mean, I struggle with it as an adult. Imagine them growing up with these iPads and devices and the whole world at your fingertips.
Yeah.
Oh, well, how do you make a cheesecake? Great, they got it. How do I, you know, I mean, you know, it's a really... I wanted to ask you a question going back to media and films and movies and romance. Yeah, because this idea of romance is a very Western notion of romance. You know, like we've been highly conditioned for massive, you know, like, I mean, I remember, you know, a lot of people talk about this as well, is this whole build up to a wedding, they have this amazing wedding, and they come back, usually the next 7 months, the most dangerous time of a marriage. It's like, oh, I remember coming
What goes on now? What goes on now?
Many don't last. I've known so many marriages that haven't lasted a year. It's unreal.
Wow.
Unreal. But then...
Is that
then also comes down to the feeling, belief that this whole need to get married, I got married, that's it, everything's going to be happy ever after. Well, no, you're now at that point of relationship, that relationship then takes a whole other point of work. So I'm a believer in dating. Couples who are together, however long they've been together, should always date at least once a month, preferably once a week, because it's that time. A date is time together for two people to build, or if they're not together already, it's to explore if there's a romantic...
If you don't talk to each other, how can you keep the love alive? You can't live in parallel. You have to come together, and I would say weekly. So you know the 5 languages of love?
Yes.
You know, my thing is I need quality time. Alan's not so fussed. He doesn't need quality time. It's like, well, I do, so let's go out on a date. So last night, Monday night, we were down the pub having dinner, talking, having a conversation.
Lovely.
You know, and I wouldn't let him get away with it, you know. It's like we do need to have that time. So we've been together, this year we'll have been together 40 years.
Love you too.
Since I was 2, obviously. But the fact is, if we weren't communicating, we could have been divorced a million times. You know,
but that is the case for almost every single marriage. I love people's how they met stories. I thrive off them. One of the collaborators, Linda, told me hers a while ago. But then the thing she said was they fell in love time and time again, because there are times that they also kind of fell out of love a bit, and that's natural and normal, and that's okay. And it's that commitment to putting that time and effort in. That's.
Do you think? I don't answer that. This idea of once you're married has a different dynamic to a relationship than people who are together. Because I know people who are together for years, and there's people who were married, and I'm not saying the relationship's any different. But do you think? Well, no, I'm not saying it directly correlates to a better relationship if you're married or you're not, but do you think there's a difference between the two contexts?
Personally, I like the marriage because it's a major commitment. I mean, legally it's a major commitment. Having been divorced, sometimes I wish I wasn't in a marriage. It cost me a fortune to get divorced. But when you do it with the right person, it is that commitment, and you can't walk away as easy. So those points where at some point you're going to want to walk away, let's be real here. If you can do 10 years of marriage and at some point not feel like stomping out the door and never coming back,
you're not real.
Yeah, it's up. Yeah.
Well, you know, what about? I mean, I don't know the statistic. You said a lot of marriages and there's a lot of one-parent families, a lot of people bring out, and then they've got to develop a new way of being with each other once they've split up, and then there's the new partners, and they sometimes bring kids. I mean, we've really seen the
explosion. I would say an explosion.
Yeah, like the destruction of the family unit in one way or another. Now, I don't want to go down the off-piste reasons for that, but long-term, how are our kids?
But then there are positives to this. So something new that's happening a lot now is blended families, even down to the point that Adam Sandler and Drew Barrymore did a film about blended.
Yes.
Anyone who's got children already starting to date again needs to watch that film. It's hilarious.
Yeah, it's good.
But it is a new thing, and it is now. It's no longer when you get together when you're young. There's 2 people. And someone who's dated not for 8 years with children. It's not just you, you're then considering those children, and it's how much do you consider them, because at some point it does become too much, because you don't want to put the power into their hands, because this is then the person that you'll be with, they're not going to be home forever. if they've got children, it's the relationship with those children. And I've had children in my life before. I'm no longer with their dads, but I still love those kids. I still love those kids from a mile away now. I only get to see their picture, but I still love them, and that's hard. This is a whole nother path. Doing the whole relationship thing with children, but if you get it right, perfect. Those kids have got so much. They've got.
Yeah, that's right.
Yes, and it's rather than focusing on how it's gone wrong, if you can try and find a way to create more of blended families.
What is that? Sorry, what is the actual definition of a blended family? I know I've never heard the term.
So it's families where one or both of the parents have got children from previous marriage.
So should I say it literally is?
It's like the Brady Bunch.
Yeah,
basically. Two families come together, they've got the family, the kids, whether they all come together and live in the same house. I mean, I've got some friends, he had 3 boys, she had 3 boys, they all lived together, 6 boys. I mean, oh my goodness. But
it's like a 5-side team and a son.
Yeah, they get on so well.
And it happens, and it does happen. Sometimes it works brilliantly, and sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it's a whole new skill set.
It takes work though.
Yeah, it does.
You cannot expect, he likes him, he gets on really well with him, we're done, that's sorted. It's ongoing, consistent work. And even in a family that's not blended, the kids don't always get on. And it takes work to make sure that they do know how to. But that's where you come in with the relationship skills. Because if you haven't got relationship skills and your kids are killing each other, where do you go? What do you do?
Then it becomes a blame game, doesn't it?
Then it's, they're teenagers.
Yes. Or, the excuses game or the blame game. Yeah. It's their fault. It's their fault. It's they didn't have this when they were younger. No, how about you are all where we are? Whatever everyone's past are, we'll play at a certain point, but we all are where we are. Start all taking responsibility for that. And as the parent, you have to model that. You have to model that if you have an outburst, which I said at the weekend. My girls wanted annual Adventure Island passes, but I'd said that there were certain targets.
Annual what?
Adventure Island down South End.
Really expensive. There was a target and I didn't meet the target, so I didn't get them.
Okay.
And my daughter brought it up once too many times. I thought, well, my reaction was not good. But I had to own that. 5-10 minutes later, I had to go, I'm really sorry, that was totally inappropriate. Mum is really busy for work at the moment. Please don't take it to heart. But then when they explode about something ridiculous, they can go, I'm really sorry, I didn't mean to do that. Yeah. It's because I've been worrying about my 11 plus in a few weeks. And it's that, parents
isn't that great? Isn't that great? Because otherwise it's like, you don't do as I say, don't do as I do. Do as I say, that all kind of, you've got to be accountable. If you do something and then your kids can't do it, then, obviously I'm talking about things that are not good behaviour. But can I ask a question about, I got married in 2001. Yep. Ours and I met in May 99, so I've been off out of the market for quite a long time.
Yep.
And did anyone know?
It's probably a good thing. But the thing is, like, a friend of mine recently separated from his wife, and he was sharing some. There's all these technologies now. People are, going on the apps, and there's the whole world of dating. So there's all of that, which I guess in terms of real deep relationships is what it is, right? Yeah. And I'm not giving a value, good or bad, on it, but if someone comes to you and they say, like, I'm clear, I want a serious. I assume we're talking serious relationship.
Yeah, that's ideally not.
So where do you start? I mean, how do you get that? Would you give them a form to fill in? Do you go fill in this questionnaire online?
And I have access to that, but over the time of training, I learned how to do all that and get all that information without the form. So we're trained with the form, and I just talk to people, and I get the stuff. So it's classed as a psychological profile.
Yeah.
So I ask people about everything. I mean, everything. The reason why they're at the point where they're considering a matchmaker. Considering a matchmaker isn't you wake up one day, ping, I'm going to have a matchmaker.
No. But for that being lonely.
It's quite a commitment, isn't it? Financially, you're taking. You want to take a very important part of your life.
Yeah. But then my thing with that always would be, if I could turn the clock back 9 years, barring the fact that I wouldn't want to change my children, would I do it? Yes, I would. And I've obviously used advice of matchmakers for myself recently, because that's what you do if you know that service is there. And I really get to know the person.
So let's say polarised questions. What could be the most trivial question you would ask?
Me? I ask quite a lot of trivial questions, because you would be amazed how many people want to give me the facts and the figures, and they give me
this much. I do this. I do this. Yeah.
Well, literally facts and figures.
Yeah, they're happy to give what someone could find out about them on the internet. Then I say to them, "Oh, where's your favourite holiday? Oh, where would you go if money was no object?"
That's not trivial, is it?
Yes and no. It is quite trivial.
It sounds flippant, but it has.
But it's not.
Because I think that says a lot about someone.
Yes, but and that's because you come from a coaching background, whereas people who don't, that's really quite a soft question. That actually gives me lots and lots of information about who they are.
But what would you consider quite a trivial question that actually is quite revealing? Or maybe I'm asking for something. I don't know. Because in the reality of a relationship, there's a lot of trivial stuff that winds you up and.
Oh, you can't go into that.
That's doesn't wind,
That's their stuff. Because the stuff that would wind one person up wouldn't wind someone else up, so it becomes irrelevant. In fact, the things that could irk one person about you could be the exact thing that someone else thinks, So you can't focus on those things because they just are who we are. And that is where I send them out on dates, and that's for them to find out those things.
So that's something that's kind of...
For them to, well, apart from I do give dating feedback, so when I send them out on a date, the person they go on a date with has to feed back to me, and then I feed back to them. So they would get to find out if I don't know their tap there. Rise and falls is quite a common one. You'd be surprised when people are nervous, which is really off-putting for someone. Or people who are so trying to do the right thing, so trying to be conversational, it almost becomes robotic. That kind of stuff. And in an ordinary situation, you would never know that.
No.
You just would be left there wondering, going, I really like them, but they haven't called.
And you feel rejected, don't you? And
which then dips you down. So it's hard.
Actually, that feedback is really a powerful part of what you do, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think
That is a coach. That's
interesting.
partly coaching process, isn't it?
Yeah, it's quite massively coaching.
What about sex?
Yes.
How's that dealt with in this?
Don't ask me about sex life.
No.
Well, no, it is an important.
No, but seriously, it's because if you're, I mean, imagine I'm going back to old school, right? You meet somebody, you have a thing for them, they've got a thing for you, and it's kind of you're doing it all on your own with no help. You're paying for a professional to support you. I don't know. I'm just. You know what? It's a question that come up, and I thought I'm going to ask my.
No, you should, because it is really important. So, attraction is where I go to with people. So within their entire package, I'll get them through first date, potentially to third date. They can then come back and have 3 coaching sessions any time in the next 18 months. So that could be the whole, we've reached 6 months, it's, should I, shouldn't I? And usually it's they should. It's somewhere in the back of their mind they're creating doubts that don't exist. Then it can be that, I'm thinking about proposing. That's a good one that I've had before, which is really nice.
So they come back at that stage.
To talk it through.
But it has to be left down to the couple. But I tend to advise about a 5-date rule. Not so long that you're left wondering, but not so quick, because we are still all quite old-fashioned. If it happens too soon, people judge.
Does it devalue the relationship one way or the other?
Personally, I don't think so. I think there are times when people will meet totally organically. I know couples who had the first night that they've met and they were married a year later, and they're the happiest couples I know. So the rules...
there are no rules.
Almost. But I do think...
But what works for that...
Yeah.
What works, doesn't it?
It is. If it's working, then it's working.
If you take sex out of the equation for 5 dates, all of a sudden they're not even thinking about that. But if they're attracted to somebody on date 1 and they're like, and I want to, but what's he going to think about me, or what's she going to think about me? But if you take it out of the equation, this is not recommended. So it's like, okay, let's have a nice time. Let's get to know each other.
So I also I've got really strict on absolute maximum is 3 alcoholic drinks, and that includes getting ready. I'm really strict on that. So if
no
people
pre-dash then.
Absolutely not.
That is good advice.
Because you change, they change, and then you can destroy a potentially really good relationship.
Because obviously you're through your questions and then you're actually going, right, you know what, him and her, or her and him or whatever. Right? But the point is, you're actually starting to see a match, aren't you? You're kind of engineering it, supporting it. I don't know how you'd put it, but you're kind of starting to pull 2 people together. Now you throw a mix of alcohol or.
It's never good, and it always comes from a place of both people who turn up to a date, unless one is really overly confident, which also isn't always great, are nervous. So it's quite natural to have a glass of wine when you're getting ready. Then another one while you're waiting for a meal. And before you know it, especially in this day and age, you've had 3 large glasses of wine, you're probably not eating much because you're nervous, and it's not great. And that's when things can go terribly wrong. So, but I'm really, really strict on it.
You're not giving yourself the best chance, are you, really?
No.
So I always ask this a bit, is there any disasters? Of
Yeah.
course. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's going to go in the
of
book.
course.
That's going to go in the book.
Yeah.
And then what's one of the, like, you know, don't have to go there if you don't want to, but I mean, what are the, you know, what's the kind of the best case scenario that's happened? You know, what's been a kind of not flagship, but a great example of what's possible?
I've got a client at the moment who I'm allowed to talk about, because most of my clients I can't talk about.
No.
Because that's part of the service they pay for.
Yeah, but we don't want anything personal about them.
But one, he came to the team, came to the meeting with me, and I trialled something new with him. I sent him off to like stylist. He had some coaching, and then I saw him at the photographer's, so there's about a month in between.
Okay.
Really lovely guy, but when I first met him I was like, you're coming across as really grey, you're covering yourself up, and I was like, there's something in there that's so much more than you are able to show. And I could have put his ideal woman in front of him and she would have bounced. That 100%.
Yeah.
She would have probably made an excuse not to stay for the starters. But I could see there was something in there, and I just left it to my team to do that part, which was a big thing because I can be a bit and he walked into the photographers and I nearly fell off my chair. Absolutely amazing. And then I hosted a singles mingle night nearly a month ago now, so it was 120 singles in the room, and he was my only client in the room, and I chose to leave him be. Now everyone knew I was a matchmaker. A couple of people twigged that he was my client in the end through things he'd said, and they were like, well, you're not matching for him, you're not doing this, and I was like, I've kind of left him be. And he got 2 women's numbers by the end of the night. And
So
they
you
were
got 2 what?
2 women's numbers, totally off his own back, because it isn't my role to totally engineer everything. Sometimes you have to let things
Create confidence.
confidence was massive for him, and that, for me, that was amazing because he now believes in himself more. So it's taken quite a while, but he's now ready to really go on dates because me telling him wasn't enough.
No.
He needed to experience it for himself. And yeah, that for me is wonderful because he's a really lovely guy, and I can't wait. I want to see him married.
I've got another question. So who
Nice.
pays on the first date? Man or woman? Or do you go 50-50?
Personally, I think it should always be the man.
Really?
Yeah, I'm very, very traditional, and I think the easiest
Why should it be the man?
Because I'm old-fashioned, but it's only my personal perspective.
No, but what's the inherent... Because that is the traditional view, but is that because the man would ask you out on a date? But you're creating a match.
Yeah.
So no one... So if I come up
I
and...
still do the man pays, unless it's simply a signal for a woman to say that she's not interested, so I have to pay half the bill.
Oh.
Yeah.
So if she's going Dutch, she's either very, very progressive, or she's kind of going, mate, you're not for me. Make this and get out of here.
Yeah.
Or maybe, what if she pays the whole lot? How's that work? All agree.
And I'm very traditional, but then it does go back to the caveman days, and men like to provide a bit, and it doesn't mean that it should stay that way forever. And I'm massive on it, that it should be balanced, but actually in dating situations, until you're like quite an established couple, I do believe the man should pay. Doesn't mean the women pays nothing.
I'm so offended by this.
And I'm a feminist as well.
I think women should pay.
Just
Mind you, it's been a while.
That's just because you're tight.
And then it takes out the signals. These are the signals that everyone does deep down know.
So this is like us going, shaking our tails.
Yes, that's exactly
Are you
what it is. But then don't forget, the woman will have gone and probably had her nails done and got them in chop. Both parties end up spending on average £100 per date.
Wow.
The women spend it on getting ready, the men buy the meal. That's things don't change. They just are. And that's
But you know what? If you go to a matchmaker and the matchmaker says the man pays and it's already done, isn't that nice that you can forget that? You haven't even got to think about it. I was just sitting there going, oh, well, you know, I want to pay, but I don't know if he can. And it's all that blah. But you've taken all the confusion out of it, haven't you?
And it also gives the woman a really easy out. If she goes Dutch, she's half
Yeah.
calm. So it's without having the conversation.
Because on a level, if the man's paying, it's almost like there's an obligato here.
No,
isn't there?
She
absolutely
just said for the first
not.
5 dates, no.
There's
No,
absolutely
but I think there
categorically
is.
not.
I think if you go to...
You are so caveman, it's not true.
Ownership never
I'm not
happens.
saying it should happen. I'm just saying if we, you know, because Jill and I, one of the things we talked about in preparation of Love Summit, I don't want to give anything away, but we were talking about our relationship in business, or our business relationship, as opposed to because we don't really have much of a personal relationship, do we? No, but I don't mean that because we spend a lot of time together
spend too
working
long
on
together,
stuff,
yeah.
going to meetings. you know, a
We
lot
don't
of
just
our,
go and hang
we
out
have a
socially.
professional relationship. We have a personal relationship but it isn't the big part of our relationship is running Beacon. And one of the things I said to her is, you know, one of the things that I found has been very valuable in our relationship is that the gender roles, you know, because Jill would, in the early days I used to drive a lot, because I used to just, but Jill will drive any time I say, would you drive? You know, it's not like, oh, because I'm the man, I always drive everywhere we go, and we don't have I find that we have skills roles, but I don't think and some of those are slightly gender biased maybe, but we're both speakers, we're both in front of the room, we're both training people, you know, so between us there isn't a bit, the gender gap isn't there. But what I said to her, one of the things that I really respect about Jill is she doesn't play the little girl in the relationship. You know, I haven't got a you know, someone becoming like a daughter to me. Do you know what I mean?
I completely but that's a relationship dynamic of sorts. We were just talking about dating, and dating is a very specific. So even within dating, I'm doing a talk next week in London about within dating the 3 different types of dating. So I'm talking about lasting love dating, then there's casual dating should always be 50-50, and then there's hookup, which doesn't even bother them having their dinner. And they're all okay. They are all okay, and adults are entitled to pick.
So we're talking about, in the specific of, what did you call it?
Lasting love.
Lasting
love.
lasting love. So we're talking strictly man, female.
Yeah.
Are they generally male, female?
I have never gone down. Matchmakers do go into same-sex relationships. I don't.
No,
I would struggle personally.
No, but what I'm saying, you're talking specifically.
Yeah, heterosexual.
Heterosexual, and what we're saying is within that there are gender roles in the background, and
I encourage it personally because I think it helps give those signals to both parties when things are going well and when things are not, because I'm not going to be there for every single day. It's only the first few, and they need to learn
I'm
this.
not going to be there every single day.
Look, she's over there again.
That's so good. I get so nervous before I send a couple out on a date because I create it. So I pick the venue, I pick the venue,
Oh, you go that far?
Yeah. And I've got specific venues which are better for different people. So I get to know the people and where would suit them better. So louder people need louder venues.
Are the people coming to you because they're too busy to find someone of their own?
Sometimes.
So it's sort of something like the corporate person that's working really long hours and just hasn't got time to go and join a tennis club and find someone.
Sometimes, but even they tend to, when you get to know them, they're still quite lonely. Most people, there's a gap. So be it, I tend to, like on paper, so my business plan, like I've done my customer avatars and all that, they're both, the male and the female, both divorcees, because I understand that the best. So I've got something that other matchmakers might not understand because they haven't been through it.
So they don't want to replicate the mistake they've just come out of.
And because I understand it, and then I have around the peripheral of me, if people actually need to have some counselling on that, I've got the right people that they can go and work with. But even the people who end up working with me who have got that busy exterior, actually there's a reason. There was something they were running away from when they worked that much. Because deep down, I'm an absolute categorical believer that we all want to be with someone.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
no one wants to be alone.
no, I really don't believe anyone truly wants to be on their own. Not when you get through whatever that blocker is. Whatever it is, and it can be a million and one things.
Yeah, well, I've really found this an interesting conversation.
Yeah, isn't it?
Is there anything about? I mean, we're gonna get close to finishing off soon. It's gone really fast. I checked my watch. Is there anything else you want to sort of share about your personal journey or anything that would be of value to the audience that we may have? Because I think we spent a long time on relationships. It's such a fascinating area, isn't it?
But it's not dealt with enough. I think. I mean, because it impacts so much, and it's massive for me. I mean, I've been interviewed. I think it was for BBC, although I didn't quite make the cut, about dating fraud and the over 60s. And it's prolific and it's awful.
So what is dating fraud? Sorry, because I don't know what it is, but people listening.
Dating fraud hasn't been made illegal yet, and I would love it to be. So dating fraud, so there's 3 types. You've got the real most basic, which is 68% of online profiles are for people who are already in relationships.
Right, okay. So they're unavailable, they're liars, basically.
Yep. So that's not great. Then you've got the next level, and that is the people who are, to get technical, in the cluster B personality disorder, so like narcissistic, psychopathic, sociopathic, and they go out to prey on vulnerable, sadly it's usually vulnerable women with children, and it has awful consequences. Then you've got the top level, which is the gangs who put up fake profiles with fake pictures, and they've got scripts, and they're convincing vulnerable people to fall in love with them to then get money out of them. And it destroys people. Not just financially, but it also destroys them emotionally, because they've opened themselves up. Dating's one of the few spaces where you have to be vulnerable, otherwise you can't have.
I've never even...
Yeah, I've heard of that.
It's awful. It's absolutely awful. So the relationship spectrum is massive, and what this touches on is huge. But yeah, on my personal story, to be fair, it's been like a roller coaster, my life.
Are you going for a loop at the moment?
I'm quite at the time at the minute. But I would say, obviously, come along to the Love Summit, because obviously I'm speaking as well.
Yeah.
Part of that will be my journey, and my journey's got some horrendous tragedies in there.
Yeah,
And
I mean, so I say that, but that's what's made you who you are, isn't it? They're the life lessons, aren't they?
Yeah, I've won too many.
I've done that.
Stop now.
I had my dark section of the yin and yang. I'm now
Can you
looking
just
for the
remind
light.
us the date of the Love Summit, so those any of you out there watching?
Of course, 24th of September at Chelmsford City Racecourse, and it's www.lovesummit.co.uk.
So come along, Jill and I will be speaking, there'll be a lot of other interesting speakers, and I think the subject love and its various connotations that you've put into self-love, relationship, and then in business, wasn't it?
Yes.
Those are the three main areas. And there's going to be breakout workshops.
Yes.
There's a whole day event. And how much is it if people want to come along?
So VIP, which includes a half-hour one-to-one, or with you guys, it's for up to 5 people working with you guys for an hour, which I think is incredible based on what you guys do. There's only 40 of those, and it includes the lunch with all the speakers and a Love Summit journal. That's £80. To just come to the workshops and get to go to the exhibition is £25, and for the exhibition only is £10.
Wow.
So it's affordable to everyone. That was the
so
idea.
anybody that wants to be there can be there.
Yeah, to not exclude anybody. That was the big
Okay, well, we look forward to being there. I think Jill and I
very
will be
exciting.
preparing on it. Anything else you want to add to the...
Excuse me. I'm just trying to think. Well, as I said in the last podcast, we've just at the beginning of September, so we're coming up to the B Collaboration meeting. So if you want to see Becky before the 24th of September, then come to the Essex B Collaboration meeting on Thursday. This Thursday, you're going to be there, assuming?
I'm doing Known Be Known.
That's right. There's a reason you were going to be there.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And what's your subject matter?
Resilience and boundaries.
Lovely. Fantastic, I like that.
So, and then obviously I can be at the Hertford meeting the following week on Friday the 15th.
And Surrey and London this month. I'm definitely going to make Essex, but we'll see.
Yeah.
So that just leaves us to sum up. Thank you for coming and spending some time with us. It's been an absolutely fascinating subject. I think it's brilliant, and we wish you all the best for Love Summit. And it's great to have you part of B Collaboration as well.
I love it. Actually, no, I do. I absolutely love it.
Thank you. Thanks, Becky.
I'm looking forward to having you two speaking at the same time. I'm so excited.
But will I get a
We
word
don't
in
know how it's
edgeways?
going to go yet.
I'm so
Can you
excited.
imagine if we started a round stage? Yeah, we should do that. Anyway, thank you for tuning in, and whatever you are, whatever you're doing, remember life is a journey of possibility. Take care. Bye.
Bye.